When I was a child, occasionally I would hear my mother call my name and, like a good Catholic boy, I would immediately come running. Only sometimes Mom said she didn't call me, or she wouldn't even be at home. But I was sure that I heard something. So, like a good Catholic boy, I concluded that the voice was, in fact, God calling out to me, and the thought made me happy. Later in high school, I was giving a friend a ride home. We started talking about God, and he shared that very same experience with me. I had long since abandoned the notion that God was speaking to me directly, but it led to a debate. Today, though I was on the side that God was not speaking to him, and he was on the side that God was, my friend is now an atheist, and I am still a theist. Growing up in a Catholic choir, taking most of my beliefs from songs and Catholic daycare and my mother's love, there was no chance that I would hear that little whisper in the back of my head and think anything except good things. But more important than my upbringing, the positivity of that little voice of God in my head was due to one specific factor. I wasn't sick. Senua's Sacrifice is a difficult and horrific game. Not for the monsters you fight in the fantastical sense, but for the inner demons in our heads, fighting us against our better judgment for control. Heaven's Sword, Senua's Sacrifice, uses high-definition surround sound audio to give players an experience that is similar to the auditory hallucinations of a person afflicted with paranoid schizophrenia. But when I talk about these hallucinations as inner demons, I am not using a fancy metaphor or turn of phrase. I mean literally demons. Senua's Sacrifice is a game about hermeneutics, a sub-branch of epistemology, the philosophy of knowledge, that focuses on how people interpret new information to make sense of the world as it emerges around them. Hermeneutics is like epistemology in real time. The major questions of hermeneutics include: do people wholly reject new information if it conflicts with their established worldview? When do people instead change their worldview to match that new information? And to what extent do beliefs shape physical experiences as we are experiencing them?
Show not how men think in myths, but how myths operate in men's minds without their being aware of the fact. Claude Levi-Strauss.
Before the boom of modern mathematics, science, and medicine, mythology was the primary way for humanity to make sense of the natural world. Stories of gods forming out of nothingness, followed by cascades of creation to explain the movement of celestial bodies, natural disasters, the outcome of wars, and so much more. But not just relinquished to grand events, myth explained far more personal experiences. Curses and magic to explain a spot of bad luck, ghosts and fairies to explain noises in the night or a missing shoe. In Japan, snow women explained death by hypothermia. The kappa explained drowning when caught in an undertow current. Before the 1960s, people saw objects in the sky and called it a monster, a dragon. People reported being spirited away in the middle of the night. But since the popularity of Roswell, New Mexico, these events are down, and in their stead, reports of UFO sightings and alien abductions rise to a peak in 2014 and have been gradually dwindling since. In largely Christian countries, people recount waking up to demons sitting on their chest and keeping them from moving, later being diagnosed and treated for sleep paralysis, a condition in which a person's perception and awareness wake up faster than the sympathetic nervous system can wake up the rest of their body, resulting in a massive spike of stress and anxiety. Heck, 2 horror games about sleep paralysis demons made the YouTuber rounds just this year. Don't Open Your Eyes by Via and Paralysis by JN Squared. And sadly, even the History Channel has devolved into a slew of paranormal caught-on-camera shows that explain every poorly shot video with alien cryptid ghosts that capture the emotional energy of our modern myths. All of this is to say that we, humanity, have not evolved beyond mythological thinking. In the modern day, it is still in every single one of us. And without recognizing it, we will subconsciously be given over to it.
The symbols are pretty sure to be right, or nearly so. The imaginative picture, on the other hand, should not be taken too seriously. Bertrand Russell.
Psychology and cognitive behavioral therapists, when approached by someone who claims from a religious, spiritual, or cultural worldview to be beset by some sort of demon, don't respond with a demeaning, "Oh, you silly, stupid bastich, ghosts aren't real." Rather, through that person's worldview, they pursue the clinical goals of challenging and changing the person's perspective on the situation through Socratic questioning and suggesting changes in the behaviors that trigger or habituate stressful and harmful experiences. But imagine, if you would, a world only 150 years ago, or prior, a world before the invention of dialectical therapy. I see a world where mental illness, expressed through hermeneutical myth, runs unchecked, helpless. Senua fights alone against a world that is only half real in fact, but entirely real to her life and her safety. She's lost her family and community, and thus has no support to keep her grounded. Beyond schizophrenia, she is depressed, she is manic. New mental illnesses compound upon the old, but still she fights. Early on, Senua's memories introduce us to Druth, an Irishman kidnapped and tortured by Vikings. Druth told Senua the many stories of Norse mythology as characterized by his post-traumatic stress disorder. Through the stories, Senua's illness was painted by Norse mythos. As she quests to save her murdered lover Dillion from the land of the dead, she was in fact seeking revenge against the Viking raid, while visually painting them in the imagery of their own culture as she understood it, the vocal hallucinations making them personify her own personal guilt and grief. After the Bridge of Knives, one of the voices which has been narrating Senua's progress begins to speak as though directly to us, the player.
Maybe that's why people feared seeing the world through her eyes. Because if you believe that Senua's reality is twisted, you must accept that yours might be too.
In other words, if we accept that beliefs in the mind during psychoses can have a directly profound influence on perception, then we must also accept that our hermeneutical frameworks in a healthy mind are equally as capable. To what extent do our beliefs shape our physical experiences as we are having them? Because we know for a fact that they are. And to look down on anyone for that simple fact is just purely cruel. Surely the first step to answering the question of our own hermeneutical bias is recognizing what those inborn beliefs are, and in asking how those beliefs might impact our perception, we can safeguard our thought from merely being controlled by those voices in our head. Thank you for watching, my friends. If you enjoyed this video, if you found some value in it, make sure to hit the like and the subscribe button, and share the video with anyone you think might be interested. If you'd like to talk to other like-minded people with a passion for games and philosophy, you can do it by joining the SocraTetris Symposium Discord server using the link in the description. Senua's Sacrifice is a very heavy game, so for a bit of a palate cleanser, try watching our video on the philosophy of the unfinished swan. And look forward to the long-awaited video on how Nier Automata critiqued communist social philosophy not through its poster child Karl Marx, but through his confidant Friedrich Engels. I will see you at the next video, and remember, stay true.